Today for Full Album Friday, we're going to check out Blondie's classic 1978 release, Parallel Lines. When it comes to truly iconic figures in the history of music, Debbie Harry remains in a class all her own. And while there are a number of great Blondie records, this one is absolutely my favorite. The way that band was able to balance attitude and sex appeal and insanely catchy songs is rarely as good as it is here. And even more than 30 years later, you just can't help but get into every one of them. This is also one of the earliest and most important records when it comes to bringing together the worlds of punk and hip-hop and almost new wave and standard pop music. And they're able to all simultaneously exist in the same musical space. And nearly every female performer that came after pulled something from the work of Debbie Harry. Much of the reason this album stands above the rest for me is because it presents such a stark musical shift for the band, as the new wave tones are all but gone when you compare it to their earlier work, and it's far more a pop record with a bit of a punk tinge to it than their other albums. The amount of mass appeal that this record had is undeniable, as half of the songs were released as singles, with 5 of them cracking the top 20 and a pair of #1 hits. The biggest of these was of course Heart of Glass, that topped the charts in nearly half a dozen countries. But at the same time, it really alienated the group's long-standing underground followers, because it's got that heavy disco sound, which is pretty much what those people were really rallying against at the time. Regardless of this, this is the record that vaulted the band to international superstardom, and the record remains just as exciting and intriguing all these years later. Much of this is due to the guitar work of Stein, as he seamlessly switches from electric guitar to 12-string, and he even plays the ebow at points. And it's the diversity in sound that lets the album have such sonic difference. Whether it's a driving, high-energy riff like on One Way or Another, or a gorgeously creative guitar line like Pretty Baby, it's the way that he combines the sound with the keyboards that really becomes the key to these songs. Also, new bassist Nigel Harrison locks in perfectly with drummer Clem Burke. And let's be honest, on a lot of these songs, it's the groove they create that you just can't get enough of. But when you're talking about Blondie, you absolutely have to talk about Debbie Harry, because she was a complete game changer. And her performance all across this album is nothing short of phenomenal. Nobody before her had so perfectly mastered that space between pop princess and punk princess. And she also proves that when you take that all away, she's still got one hell of a voice to back it up. Also, lyrically, this record goes to amazing places. And if you've never experienced the song Fade Away and Radiate, go listen now, because you're really in for a treat. This is just one of those albums that gets better and better every time you play it. And it's rarely been matched in terms of overall quality, as well as the range of sounds that they play with here. There's nothing on this album that's anything less than fantastic, and if somehow this isn't in your collection, you need to change that right away. Thank me later.